Okay, hi everyone. I'm Ritesh from Onshority and I'll be your host for today's special Wellness Wednesday session. Today's conversation holds a lot of importance. We often hear that men should provide, protect, and preserve, but rarely are they told that it's okay to feel. Yet the reality is stark. One in seven Indian men struggle with mental health challenges, and every year over 130,000 men lose their lives to suicide, many without even speaking about what they are or were going through. This International Men's Day, we are creating a safe space where silence stops and honest conversation begins. Welcome to the Unspoken Truth, Men's Mental Health in Focus, a space to understand, support, and rethink how we approach men's emotional well being. Today, we'll explore why men hesitate to seek help, how stereotypes shape emotional expressions, early signs of stress, burnout, and hidden struggles, how vulnerability can become a strength, and how both men and women can contribute breaking the stigma. We are joined by an incredible expert, Dr. Dion Rodrigues, clinical expert at Healing Together. Dion specializes in ADHD, anxiety, depression, trauma, and helping people become emotionally resilient. He's passionate about raising awareness on men's mental health and believes that small daily shift can create massive changes. This is an interactive session, guys, so please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We will take this up in the Q&A at the end. Okay, over to you, Dion.
Yes, thank you for that great introduction. Yes, good evening, everyone. Um, so November, as you know, is Men's Mental Health Month, and today we're going to be covering this topic in detail. So let me just set the broader intention of the workshop and why I'm here doing this. Okay. So through this workshop, I hope we can highlight the need to have this uncomfortable conversation, redefine what it means to be a man, break the stigma around men reaching out for help, and to give you tips and tools to not just have a conversation when you are struggling, but also to give you the tools that you can use to improve your mental health. Also, we have a free toolkit for you that you can download and use after the workshop. So stick around. I will be sharing that link with you guys for the same close to the end of the workshop. All right. Okay. So let's delve right into it. In the first section, in this webinar, we will talk about why there is a special month dedicated to men's mental health. Okay. We will discuss the pressing need to have this conversation. Okay. I will be sharing some alarming numbers that will reinforce the urgency to have this conversation. Okay. Then we will talk about what men go through at different stages of their lives. Let me just start by saying I'm sure that if you would have ever expressed concerns about your mental health or shared your mental health struggles, you would have either heard these statements yourself or you'd probably said these things to someone else. Like things like you're crazy or it's just a phase, it'll pass. It's just in the mind, just shake it off. Or just simply, things like think positive. These are mostly gender agnostic, meaning that you would have heard this irrespective of the gender of the person, like, man or woman. But when it comes to men, there is double the stigma, meaning that if a man says he's struggling, in addition to that first layer of comments, men also get to hear that, man up, uh, men don't cry, or mad ko dard nahi hota, or some people would even say that aggression is good and emotions are a weakness, and this is where we come to, as previously mentioned, about how to have a better relationships with our emotions rather than suppressing them, trying to numb ourselves from them. Emotions add color to lives, and logic is just not enough, or pushing your emotions deep down can cause a lot of repressed feelings, a lot of other problems which can grow within time and just lead to more health issues, more health problems, right? So we have the habit of dismissing men's health struggles and invalidating feelings by portraying emotions as a weakness and contradictory. I think emotions really help. Emotions really keep someone uh, more positive and have them really enjoy life, see the meaning in life as well. Okay, so yeah. Second. Yeah. So let me run you through some of the alarming numbers since we only have data available up to 2021. So I'm sharing these are the latest ones we have. All right. Disclaimer, I'm not trying to be insensitive here. This is not with the intention of comparing genders. Rather, this is about more showing how conversations about men's suicide is a lot more subdued. Just in the years from 2019 to 2021, the number of male suicides was more than 2.5 times that of women's. So my intention of bringing up this statistic is just to share that we rarely talk about the silent pressures that men go through, and this silence is costing us dearly. Another statistic is that when the first national helpline, Kiran, was established in September 2020, 70% of the callers were men, again highlighting the need that there should be spaces for men to share their struggles and get some support without much judgment that comes from it. Okay, I also want to highlight how men in different age groups suffer from different set of challenges. It's not all that simple. There's unique factors in each age group. Close to 60% of suicides happen in the age group of 10 to 44 years of age. Yeah. Let's look at the different factors then which are pushing young boys and men towards suicide. Okay. So young boys in the age group of, let's say, 10 to 18, 18 to 29 age group are heavily influenced by social media. And their mindset that is reinforced, in their homes, their peer groups, they often suffer from negative body image. And this can seriously impact their self-worth. Bullying on the account of their looks, physical appearance, family status, immense pressure, and this can negatively impact their confidence. And these are no stranger to any of us. A lot of us would have gone through these as well. Some of us silently suffer from depression, heartbreak, relationship issues, peer pressure, and it could be academics, even status. And what's something which doesn't get talked about as often is sexual abuse. A lot of young boys go through a lot of sexual abuse, and this needs to be acknowledged. It's not something that comes up and is covered by news coverage a lot, and not a lot of people come out and say that they've gone through this because it can be attached to a lot of shame, a lot of stigma. Okay. So another one which is not as seriously taken or talked about is heartbreak and how this can lead to people feeling a lot of hopelessness, a lot of despair. Just to add perspective to this, heartbreak can cause a lot of health issues. It can seriously affect the heart muscles negatively. It can cause chest pain, shortness of breath, sense of fatigue, cold sweat, dizziness. So don't write off heartbreak as something which is just nothing or benign emotional pain. It can be very damaging to the heart. In the age group of 30 to 44, the stresses are around finances, savings, mounting debts, EMIs, home loans, car loans. It could be even their kids' educations, parents' health expenses, and added to all this, imagine having a job loss at this point in time, especially if they are the sole earners in their family. It could be crushing to them. Added to that, the risks or the probability of divorce, marital problems, another issue here as well, adversely affecting their mental health, loneliness, emotional turmoil of separation, custody battles, host of accusations, court cases, mediation settlements, and also ending up perhaps in unhappy marriages or lack of compatibility, not having a supportive partner can also put serious strain on their mental health. In addition, if someone has an underlying mental health issues and does not get the right intervention for it, can further aggravate things and their quality of life can be depleted. This will affect them, obviously, but also others around them, the family members and maybe even colleagues at work. So it can get to a point where the hopelessness is so much that a person doesn't know how to cope with it and how to they feel like they have no way out and that suicide might be the only way out to end their misery. And this is why this conversation is just this important. So from 44 to 49, another age group where, in addition to what we've already spoken about, there can be things like growing illnesses, long-term health impacts, health scares, chronic diseases. These start showing up, maybe even isolation their kids start moving out for education, different job opportunities, maybe moving abroad, and even the stresses of caregiving for their own parents. This can be very distressing, can be a lonely life to live. And the age group of 60 could look like stress about not having enough saving for retirement, not having a home, not having anyone to support or take care of them, especially since people move on to other things. Frequent bouts of illness, caregiving for an ill partner, can also be grief of losing a loved one, a spouse, and the loneliness from it as well. Lack of purpose. We reach that point in life where we look back and try to think of whatever we've achieved, whatever we've done, and sometimes that image might not be something very positive, and there might be a lot of regret, and maybe not having dealt with grief in a proper way could have led to even much more mental distress, could drive someone to a lot of despair. Okay, so it's important for us to understand the factors that play a role at different stages of life. We got to be sensitive to the context which each age group brings. Okay, all right. So let me now move on to the part where we explore what it means to be a man and what are the factors or the reasons that could stop men from reaching out for help. Okay. So before we go on and I go further with this, I want you to drop in a few words in the comment section about what you think when you think what it is to be a man. What is the first word that comes to your mind? You can just drop it in the comment section, and we will see about how that looks.
Yeah, and I think we'll just wait for a minute or so and just see if people drop in their responses and then probably show
Yes.
them what we've got when we've done our surveys. Ritesh, the chat is open for everyone to put in their messages, right? All right, we have responses coming in. Dion, I hope you can see them.
Yes.
There's responsibility, a lot
Mm,
of responsibility. All right.
a lot of
Uh,
responsibilities. Yeah.
yes, protective. I think we've had some more responses coming in, so we'll just give it a bit and let the participants share what it means to be a man, how they relate to it.
Provider.
Provider.
That's neat. Yeah. Very commonly associated being a man. Looks like we have a very common theme. Ah,
Then our
yes.
brave and proud. All right, that's quite a few responses. I think
Yeah.
we will probably just move ahead with the content. All right.
Yeah. So, so we'll share with you a survey we had done in one of our workshops where we had asked the same question, what does it mean to be a man? And you can see that the answers which we got as well. Again, responsible being a heavy theme, right? Brave, strong, kind, provider, unbreakable, breadwinner, financial responsibility again, solo warrior. And I think even when the comments came in, we can feel the weight of, reading all of these comments about like how, yeah, this is definitely something which is very much associated with being a man. And responsibility can create this drive for a man to take this role alone and not share this weight with others. And that can cause a lot of problems, a lot of stress. It always hurts to kind of go through this alone with a lot of weight, a lot of expectations. Especially a lot of these are socially prescribed as well. And we can see that. And we will see about it in the next slides as well. Okay. So, yeah. So we asked the participants, what stopped them from reaching out. Heads up, we gave the people, three options to choose. That's why these percentages don't add up to 100%. So the top three reasons, as you can see, it ranges from I've learned to deal with it, mostly happens through suppression or trying to distract themselves from the pain, trying to numb themselves from the pain. The other two were, I don't wish to be a burden to anyone else. It points to what I was saying about how lonely the struggle can be sometimes, where they take all of this by themselves and in silence. I think that was one of the comments which was dropped as well. Stigma is another reason why men don't open up, which is why we're here today talking about this, right? Is to break the stigma, to make this something which is more spoken about. The next reason is I have no one to talk to. So this brings me to this topic of check for the EAP policy of your company. Approach the HR, check if they have support. A lot of companies have these support systems which are not utilized as much. Also, the EAP provider is technically not supposed to share any personal information. Whatever is spoken in your sessions, whatever is discussed with the therapist or coach, everything is supposed to be confidential. So confidentiality is present in these arrangements. So reach out to a professional, a therapist or coach, even if it's outside, to get the help you need. These professionals do not judge you for the struggles you're facing, rather they strive to understand you and then help you better. So I want to take a few minutes to discuss about patriarchy as well. We've often heard this term thrown out a lot, okay? But we've also heard it in the fact that this offers a lot of privileges to men and puts women at a disadvantage. But patriarchy is a double-edged sword which cuts, both men and women. Okay, it negatively impacts both men and women by pushing them to deeper stereotypes. Okay, we already have stereotypes present, as we've seen in the comment section as well. There's stereotypes for men, but there are also stereotypes for women, and patriarchy does not help this at all. Okay, it sets rigid expectations for both genders. It teaches men that they must be, dominant, emotionally, immune, cold, financially successful, physically strong, while women are more nurturing, supportive, self-sacrificing, obedient as well. These are some of the things which are given for women. Where we all understand how these gender stereotypes oppress women by limiting their opportunities, their freedoms, we don't often see how these also burden men with unrealistic standards of masculinity. This idea can also be romanticized by a lot of men. This is something we notice as mental health professionals as well, where the man really takes this on by himself of really wanting to live up to these standards because they feel like a failure or they feel shame if they don't. Men who express vulnerability, choose caregiving roles, or reject traditional masculine ideals are often mocked, they're made fun of, they're looked down upon. The man who stays home while the wife goes to work is often, it's made fun of, it's teased, it's not seen in a positive light. So patriarchy has, this habit of isolating men emotionally, discouraging them from seeking help. For mental health issues or expressing affection properly can lead to a lot of that loneliness and aggression or even depression. The alarming rates of male suicides, which we already spoke about, and untreated mental illness are part of the reflection of this social conditioning, which is why it's important for us to dismantle patriarchy. In this next section, let's talk about where stigma stems from and how we can break the stereotype and the stigma bit by bit. Okay. So let me ask you this. Do emotions like sadness, anxiety, pain, or joy, feeling shy, gratitude, commonly demonize emotion like shame, anger, guilt, or even nervousness, confusion, loneliness? Do these have a gender? Do these emotions belong to a specific gender? um, to experience emotion is human. What really changes is the expression of these emotions. Based on gender roles, we are taught how we can express these emotions. All these emotions are felt by all of us irrespective of our gender. It's just how we express them really depends on how we have been socially conditioned. Okay, so there's only two types of people who don't experience emotions, and one is psychopaths and second's dead people, and you're neither of them. So don't shy away from feeling your emotions. Emotions are part of you. It's only normal. Okay. So how we view men, like we think of men like this, with six packs, physically strong, immune to pain, strong, self-sufficient, never needing any help, and having to normalize anger, masking it as aggression, considering it to be okay. And this is something which can be really problematic. And the truth might be totally different. They might be anxious, feeling unseen. They might be depressed or feeling lonely. They might be feeling suffocated in the roles which they are playing. Okay. And these emotions, when not expressed and dealt with, can come out in the form of rage, risk-taking behavior. Okay. So you can think about an analogy of a beach ball. If you have ever played the beach ball before, it's like trying to keep these in the water, but it always floats back up to the surface if you're in a pool, you know. And the harder you try to do it, it still pops back up no matter what. And it's difficult for you to live life while still trying to keep it there. So one could be feeling, even a complete loss of control over a situation, these circumstances. Anger takes form of aggression, and their mind becomes a place that's full of unhappy thoughts. They try to escape their minds, and when you try to escape this, you sometimes resort to unhealthy coping mechanisms like, alcohol or other substances. This is an attempt to numb pain usually, and it is just temporary relief, but it always comes back and sometimes comes back stronger. And we call this maladaptive coping as professionals. There's two types: there's adaptive and maladaptive. And alcohol and substances and other things could be, which are more addictive in nature, can be maladaptive. So we have to keep reminding men to be more expressive, embrace their emotions, and find more adaptive coping rather than maladaptive ones. All right. Yeah. So let's see what we can do to break the stigma. Okay. Start early. I think these unsaid, unspoken sets right from childhood, right from what we see, how adults around us act, react to the questions we've been asked. Everything pushes these biases to our subconscious without even realizing it. So imagine in a household where a child, like, a boy who has been growing up seeing his father cook meals, pack tiffins, do the dishes, versus a household where the girls told to do all of these things and the boy is told not to enter the kitchen. There's no need for him to do this, no need for him to learn to cook, none of it. you know then imagine a scenario where a boy comes home after his, maybe his girlfriend broke up with him, and he breaks down and cries about his lost love, and he's told by his parents that men don't cry, and you will just find another girl, another one will replace her, and that there is no reason for you to make a big deal about this. The boy will then develop an unhealthy view of women and also relationships. Their outlook towards it will be rather harmful. Okay, be curious rather than instructive. um, ask them open-ended questions instead of asking them questions which are more close-ended or more of good or bad as an answer. Ask questions which will start conversations. It will open them up to really describing how they feel, how they see a situation, what they found interesting about it. So questions like, did anything interesting happen at school today? you know Look for conversations which follow up with, how did that make you feel? And if your child says, someone pushed me or the teacher yelled at me today, sure, ask them what happened, but also ask them, how did it make them feel? Get comfortable with identifying their emotions and handling them. uh, I think this is a great skill for people to learn early on in their lives, because later on it becomes hard, and it becomes also difficult for them to coexist with their colleagues, their peers in school, where they are unable to identify what they're feeling, and then communication becomes more complex, and relationships become very hard for them to handle. In the same way, if you're a manager, instead of saying, hey, your performance is slipping, I've maybe say this, I've noticed that you've been a little off lately, I'm concerned about you, is everything all right? Instead of cornering them, and just help them open up about what's maybe affecting their performance. And it's absolutely possible that whoever you ask may not feel comfortable sharing with you, but don't take any offense to this. It's more of they would have, it's more of, you can refer them to someone they will feel comfortable talking to. Maybe a professional, it could be a EAP provided counselor, therapist, coach. And this is more likely to help them, facilitates that sharing of emotion, expressing of what they're going through. Okay, so make these conversations frequent, make resources available, and lead by example. Don't dismiss your own struggles. If you open up about your struggles, you set up an example. You make it easier for people to connect with you. It'll give them the signal that it's okay for me to share as well, and it's okay for me to ask for help. So, and a habit of checking in on people, asking if they need support, that could be really helpful, and we should do that more often. Be an enabler, and you can only be that when you know what's preventing them from showing up fully. Yeah. So, what are the signs we should watch out for? Not just in others, but ourselves as well. You know, um, to understand that someone might be going through something difficult. Social withdrawal is one thing. People stop socializing, they stop going out. They more likely to just stay cooped up in their own room, rot in their bed, and this can make things worse rather than better. Now, if you're someone who is an introvert and you naturally are someone who stays in, uh, you know, that might be not very noticeable to others as a problem. But then when you see others change behaviors, like they're eating alone, they're skipping team calls, or becoming quieter than usual, avoiding interactions, these are signs for you to check in with that person and make sure, are they okay, are they all right. Second is, signs of agitation. Quite often, agitation stems from like a combination of lack of control. They feel like the life's going away from them. They're not in control of it anymore. And also a lot of unresolved issues. And don't get offended at this when you face agitation coming from them. Don't jump up and react. Just observe the change in the behavior, especially if it's unusual for this person. Like this person, how they behave, and you see them that they are acting in a different way than they usually do. You can try to understand them better. You'll understand where they're coming from. Um, Heightened irritability, impatience, outbursts can indicate internal distress. They might seem on edge, like frustrated. The slightest thing can tick them off. It's usually because their nervous system is under a lot of stress. Okay. If it's someone, if it's someone else, just open up with them with a conversation saying, "Hey, I've never seen you so worked up. Is everything okay? I've never seen you this stressed." If you notice this in yourself, pause and check in with yourself. You feel helpless, not in control, you get triggered very often. Just check in with yourself and maybe seek out for help. Okay. You'll see also people skipping things that they enjoy. Maybe they used to love going for treks, love going for movies, sports. Also, all of this suddenly stops. It might be a sign that they are not just that they're not interested in it. It might be that they are just emotionally distressed. They don't have the motivation for it anymore. This is a big sign that someone is slipping into things which could be distressing for them, problematic for them, and they would need to check up on themselves. Okay. Substance abuse, as we've discussed already, uh, it is something what men usually turn to more than women. They turn to substances, and this is usually because there is that stigma or there is that habit of suppressing emotions. And emotions, when they don't know how to handle them well, they feel like if they feel the emotions, it is going to, maybe destroy everything else in their lives. They will try to not feel that emotion. And substances is a way to numb them out temporarily. Okay, so a noticeable rise in drinking or substance use can be, like I said, a way of coping with pain, stress, loneliness, and sometimes it can be just one more drink after work, or relying on substances to unwind every day. While not always addiction, it's a sign that emotional regulation might be lacking. Okay. Any life changing events also, like a breakup, divorce, or losing someone, um, these can be reasons for significant stress. We've never been taught to deal with grief well. We've never been taught to hold grief. These are not things that we are taught, not things that we learn. And when we don't make grief bigger and hold it, and we shrink it and we try to put it away, it creates problems for us in the future. We don't move on from it, or we don't develop from it in the way that we need to. Persistent sense of worry, if a person is constantly stressed and anxious about things. We all get stressed about things from time to time, but if this doesn't seem to get better, and it's prolonged now, and our body is gonna feel the effects of it. You will see that maybe it's your digestion, maybe it's constant headaches, migraines. You're feeling more lethargic, you can't get yourself to do things, low motivation. This can also be a big sign that you need to go seek for help. Okay. Attendance and punctuality. You'll see the person show up less for work. You'll see them show up less to even interactions or outings, and they're not able to keep to deadlines. There's a lot of, avoidance maybe, or loss of motivation. Reach out with curiosity. I've noticed that you're missing deadlines. I've noticed that you're coming in late or you've been away. Are you okay? What can we do to help? This can open a door to support without shame. And also, there is a difference between procrastination. This is a very important point, which is there's a difference between laziness and procrastination. Laziness is more of, you know, I've had, this is not very important for me. I can push it to later, maybe, or this is not that important. I can delay it till the last minute. But procrastination is something where that something is very important. There's a lot of fear and avoidance. You have to do it right then, but you still delay it. Okay, so procrastination, there's a lesser amount of control you have over the situation. Difficulty concentrating, this is more of a mental fog. You're not there in meetings. You're physically there, you're not mentally there. It's a common sign of burnout, of depression. It diverts the energy from whatever you need to focus on to just surviving. A lot of emotional strain. So often understanding and realistic workloads can help reduce this pressure. And a person might make mistakes more often, and it requires more compassion when these happen, because they might not be fully present, and they might need help rather than heavy criticism. Okay, so there's a lot of masking which people do, especially when they're going through something. Masking means that they pretend that everything's all right. They have an outward appearance that nothing's bothering me. I'm totally fine. But this cannot be the case. And when your energy is less, the mask begins to fall down, and you begin to see how they're really doing. You begin to see what they're struggling at. Okay, feeling exhausted. Someone is tired even after resting, even after getting a lot of sleep. They're still drained. They might be going through a lot of psychological fatigue, and their energy reserves are totally gone. Okay? So encourage rest, encourage boundaries, self-care, instead of glorifying pushing through. Pushing through is a common thing which we see in schools, colleges, even workplaces, where, oh, you're feeling tired, no, push through. This is like quicksand. It's maladaptive coping again. The more you struggle, the deeper you'll sink. Okay? Statements of hopelessness like, what's the point? I'm done. Nothing ever changes. It's always going to be like this. This is a serious indicator that a person's reaching a point where they can't pull themselves out. Okay? There's a lot of emotional despair, and it should not be avoided. Okay? These might not always signal suicidal thoughts, but the deep hopelessness, it deserves immediate listening. Okay? And if needed, professional help. Okay. Yeah. So let's move on to the next section, where we'll do a reflective activity and explore what we can do if we are struggling or if someone around us is struggling. Okay. Alongside that, we will also discuss what we can do to maintain good mental health and take a stab at redefining what it means to be a man. Okay. Yeah. So coming to the activity, let me explain how we do this, right? So in the columns, I will be putting out questions. In the row, you can see the headers. These are the roles you'll be assuming. So basically, if you look at the first question in the column, mother, right? The way it would read is, if you're a mother, or let's even assume you're a father, if your son approaches you and said they are struggling, would they come to you and they share it with you? My girlfriend dumped me. How would you react to this? So let's take question each role one by one. Let's take a moment to think about what your reaction would be. Would you be dismissive? Would you become an advisor? Would you become curious? So these are the important questions here, right? Because this will dictate about how that person will feel like when they come to you the next time to tell something important. Your answers will decide this for them. If they sense judgment, they might not feel comfortable coming to you the next time. So let's take the second example. Now, you are the wife and your husband comes to you and says, I might lose the job. I might lose my job. I don't know how we will manage rent and school fees, etc. And if the wife says, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to manage food? What where will we get money from? What will we have to take the kids out of school?" All of these things have now, it's piling worries on the person rather than supporting them. You've put all your worries in one basket and handed them out to the partner. So you ask yourself how that would make you feel. It would certainly make you feel guilty. Even if it is not your fault, you'll take a lot of responsibility for it. It'll make you feel alone when you're struggling. You need support. You need someone to be there for you when you're struggling. Even if they can't solve the problem for you. Okay. So let's just see how you could change that. Give them a space to process that shock or that grief. Uh, you could say things like, "Tell me what happened. How are you holding up? This must have been terrible news." Um, you move from judgment to curiosity and openness. You acknowledge that, okay, they're going through such a bad time. This is how I need to be right now. Maybe you tell them, "Okay, we have savings, or I can take care of things for a month or two. Maybe you can ask for a personal loan or a certain amount." And these are all other options you can do to kind of make this person feel that I'm not alone in this. you know um, in any of these cases, the partner feels like it's not their responsibility alone to fix it. And when you ask them how they're feeling and you listen without trying to make them feel that they shouldn't be feeling like this, you're validating them. you know so don't try to just hide and just gloss over their discomfort. You got to make them feel heard, seen, and held. That's half of the battle. Okay. So not only does this help them move forward with their grief, but it also gives them confidence. Someone's with me, someone's doing this, we're doing this as a team. It gives them courage. So courage, compassion, curiosity will solve half of the problems. These are three C's, as we call them. And this will really help someone be understood well enough, and then it'll help you help them. So if you incorporate all of these, it is something that will help you go a long way with any of your relationships. Now, similarly, if you are a father and your child comes to you and says they're not able to concentrate on studies, this is affecting their performance and their grades, you know, a lot of times you can feel that people burst, the father bursts into anger and asks them, "How could you, let this happen? Or, you need to put your phone away, reduce screen time," and all of these things come out. And how do you think, the kid is going to react to this? Or will they feel comfortable coming to the father again? The child starts to feel isolated, like they're alone in this, they're not being understood. And then they stay to themselves, they push their emotions deep in, and they make sure that I'm never going to embarrass myself again by sharing this. So, maybe if you were curious, if you were compassionate, you would have asked the right questions, the same questions which are in this table, and you would have found out maybe it's a fear of performance that they have. Maybe they genuinely can't understand the subject they're trying to learn. Maybe they just went through a breakup and that's the priority for them right now. Or they are bullied at school and they're more focused on protecting themselves rather than studying for an exam. This is something which you could find out if you're more curious and compassionate. And it requires a lot of patience, it requires a lot of effort at times. So the same there's a lot of situations where you can kind of apply this to, as a leader and a manager, as a young adult as well. So this is a good reflective activity, and I encourage you all to try it once in a while. You can take a screenshot of this and apply this in different contexts which may be more relevant to you as well. Okay. Yeah. So going to the next. Yeah. So let me share with you a framework. Okay. This is something you can use for someone who's around you and is struggling. Right. And we call this framework ALEC. Okay. First one is ask. All right. So ask them how they feel. Ask what's happening. Is something we've covered already, but a little bit. You've noticed changes in them. It is not how they normally are. You know that, okay, they might be going through something. Let's make them feel heard. So by asking questions, you make them less invisible with their struggles. You make them feel like, okay, whatever they're saying is valid. You're validating them. Okay. You can say what you've noticed about them, feel that you've been withdrawn, etc. Okay. Step two, listening. This is a critical part that needs to be done with care. You need to remember four things when you think about listening to someone, right? Listen without judgment. If you judge, the person doesn't feel like coming to you, they don't feel comfortable, you've closed the door for open communication. Okay, do not interrupt. Okay, let them speak. Silently listen, even if they don't make sense, even if you don't agree to what they are saying. You'll not agree with everyone, right? But just listening to someone makes all the difference. They'll know that you are there for them. They consider you important enough that you listen to them. Okay, do not jump to offer solutions. This is something which happens in relationships a lot. Sometimes that's not what's needed. They've not come to you for solutions, and they've probably already thought about whichever solutions you're giving them. So refrain from it, and rather than that, just ask them what they would need. Sometimes if they need solutions, you can provide some, but most common is that they just want to be heard. They just want to share what they're going through, share their grief, so to speak. Okay, validate how they're feeling. What is opposite of validation is, oh, you shouldn't be feeling this. This is not the emotion you should be feeling. This is how you should be feeling. That is very invalidating to someone who's going through a hard time. And this is gonna make it very difficult for them to confide in you again or confide in anyone. Yeah. You can ask, is there something we can do to help? Is this a difficult time for you? How can we help you? Or if you don't have the bandwidth to help them, you can ask them, this is must be really hard for you to deal with. Can I help you, get in touch with someone, maybe a professional? Right? Connect them to resources that they could use in a time like this. Okay? Encourage action. Encourage them to do better. Encourage them to do some things that will make them feel more, more pleasure. Maybe make them feel a little bit um, more active. I think these are really important things, like just moving around, going for walks, even talking to a friend, resolving the situation with a concerned person, talking to a professional. These are constructive steps towards resolution. Okay. The last is checking in. Okay, maybe a few weeks or a few days later, you can check in with them and you can ask them if they're doing okay. Maybe check on what actions they've taken, if they've taken your advice, or if they need any additional support. This will let them know that you genuinely care and not just one time help. Your concern was real. Okay. Yeah. The next one, we've spoken about how to help if someone else is struggling. Equally as important is how to help yourself if you are struggling. So because we can't keep waiting for people to come rescue us at every point in time, we have to know how to help ourselves, at least to a certain point. Everyone is going through a struggle of their own, so it's not that everyone's going to be always readily available for us. So we might have to pull our own weight for a while. Otherwise we might be setting ourselves to fail. Okay. The first one is validate. Okay, as you can see on the slide, know that whatever you're feeling is valid. Okay, a lot of times people let others tell them of what they should be feeling instead of what their feeling actually is. So don't let anyone invalidate you. A lot of times people will say this just to dismiss it, minimize what you're going through. Okay, so surrounding yourself with people also who are more validating is important. That they are not likely to diminish you or invalidate you. Okay, so being accepting of your own emotions is the first step. Okay. So the next step is acceptance. So there's so much resistance sometimes. This is what we call denial, right? Denial of what we are feeling. If you want something to change, you must first accept it. No change happens without accepting something. So when you accept it, you open the door towards healing. Okay. The next step is to talk to a friend, talk to a professional, talk to a therapist, a coach. It does two things. It entangles the knots in your mind, opens up the possibility for you to see things from a different perspective, because you are just seeing from your perspective. It's almost like looking at the same thing from different windows. It gives you a more 3D perspective of a unique problem. It helps you solve things. Okay. It gives you a lot of strategies for you to deal with a more complex problem, to survive, to go through a difficult situation. Okay. The last one is seek help. A lot of times we can think that I will not go to a professional until things are very, very dire, very severe, very serious. And this can be not the right way to go about it, because it will you will go in when it's critical, and this makes it a lot difficult for you to handle things. So whenever you feel like there's already a dip in how you're feeling, in how you're doing, take the initiative to take care of yourself. All right. Let's talk about the things we can do to maintain good mental health, right? You might have heard some of these already before, and good for you if you're already doing some of these things. Okay, so mind body practices. We look at both mind and body as one. Okay, and rightly so. Like yoga, tai chi. These are more ancient Chinese practices which work on energy, like body energy, like chi. You know, somatic movement also, which is about movement, and that not only works in the body but on trapped emotions that get stuck in the body and show up in most inexplicable pains or aches or muscle tensions. We see this in therapy a lot, where someone will talk about back pain, they'll talk about some chest pains, talk about a feeling of being choked, and they just don't know how that's happened. And usually it's just because of unresolved trauma, unresolved emotions, repressed emotions, and they have no physical cause. After going to the doctor, getting checks, somatic movements really help. Somatic therapy really helps with this. Okay. Another one, talking about somatic, is progressive muscle relaxation. It's a type of meditation, same like body scans, mindfulness. It just This emphasizes on the fact that it's your body and mind which go through stress together, not just your mind. Okay, so it tells you that this is not far from anything medical as well. It is the same thing. There's a connection between your mind and your body, and they both interact with each other very well. Yeah. So listening to music is one of the things which you can do to really help you out. Songs really help you tap into emotions which might be repressed. It makes you cry, gives you chills, makes you smile on a difficult day. It has the ability to evoke emotions, and that's a good thing. Spending time in nature, like things like going out for walks, going out to parks, if you're near the coast, beaches is an option. Earthing, grounding yourself in nature is a very good thing. Even being exposed to some good sunlight like vitamin D, it's good for you. You're more likely to fall into depression if you have a lack of vitamin D, lack of exposure to sunlight. So remember to get your time with nature. Okay. Spending time with friends offer that safe space, that non-judgmental space for you to talk about, confide in them. It's liberating for you, right? And there's also a part of the brain which is like the old brain, which is, it just shuts off. It's the one which causes anxiety, causes a lot of stress. It shuts off when you are talking with others. So when you maybe are going through a harder time, this is why interacting with your friends can make you feel like you're just escaping that. Okay. Yes, then we go to Zen space. Creating a small space with acts like a refuge, a safe space which is inviting, calm, cozy. You can see the difference between a place which is very well decorated, very well designed, with something which is more shabby and not organized at all. So having such spaces which are more inviting, they're more warm, they evoke more positive emotions, right? Yeah, there's some fragrances, mindfulness cards, they all can be something which, even mandalas, they really calm you down. Crocheting as well is another activity. Okay, gratitude corner. So often we take the good things for granted, and we have a habit as human beings, we focus on the negative more than the positives. Okay, so when we practice gratitude, it's almost like we are forcing ourselves to look at the other side of the world, which is the positive sides. For once in this world, in the world we live in, like the negatives go to the surface more than the positives. Okay, so gratitude is giving thanks to whatever we do have, whatever we have accomplished, whatever is going good for us, which made us smile. It can be as simple as having your favorite food also. you know Cuddles. Okay, hugs and cuddles are also underrated. um, Hugs release this hormone called oxytocin. It's the same hormone which is there, between a mother and the child. It is the social engagement hormone. Whenever you engage with someone you like, oxytocin is produced, and it really feels warm. It feels, comforting. Um, Yeah, you can have this with your pet, your child, your partner, your friend. Oxytocin really improves moods like nothing else. Okay. Developing hobbies, meditation, even sports, rock climbing, things like that, which can really it's like insurance against bad days. Your positive emotions go up on a high, and they just prepare you for things which are generally hard in life, and those are things which you can't avoid. That's why on weekends having a nice plan to do something for yourself can be just what you need. Okay. All right. So let's finally redefine what it means to be a man. Okay. So one is asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. And you are doing disservice to the people around you by not doing that. Okay. So let's just say you're suffering from anxiety, right? And you get very paranoid about the slightest thing that has gone wrong, and you could be in the same car as your partner, and they also, they're trying to drive, and you're constantly giving them a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety by giving them instructions, warning them, scaring them. And it's not in a more relaxed, calm way, but it's more of an anxious way, more of an agitated way. And if they also have their own struggles they're going through, this is more likely to push them over the edge. And it can result in a lot of problems in relationships, because you are giving your anxieties, you are giving your fears to the other person as well. So think about being a person who's taking an exam and going into a calmer group versus if you go to a group who's stressing out and so afraid. You will feel differently in both groups. Okay. It is possible that the other person also is suffering from mental health illnesses, maybe ADHD, anxiety, whatever. Instead of helping them be calmer, you are triggering them, and you are being extremely unhelpful and maybe even irresponsible in some of these scenarios. Okay. So, um, the next is compassion and empathy. This trumps aggression and violence. I think this is something we already discussed. Compassion, curiosity. This helps people understand more rather than resorting to violence. And violence is not acceptable. There's a lot of that going on in the world already, and adding to that doesn't make this world any better. Right. So to be empathetic, makes you a better partner, makes you a better leader, makes you a better colleague. Okay, rather than someone who is more abusive and violent and does not respect anyone. Owning your emotions is a display of courage. We come to courage again, knowing what emotion you're feeling, owning to it, and knowing how to deal with is not a small feat. It requires courage. It requires a lot of effort. It requires patience. Okay. So having that self-awareness to know what you're feeling, knowing what you're struggling with, and then seeking help from it is more responsible. And it can help you get away from making rash decisions and poor decisions. Okay. All right. Domestic roles. Um, you know, Chores, parenting, these are not defined by gender. The moment you trap in a gender into stereotypes, you get caught in it as well. Today our roles are more fluid, they're more pragmatic. They're not like how they used to be. Now it's just more conducive for both partners to be working in their own jobs, having two people working, not being just a one sole breadwinner in the family. Um, in our parents' time, it was probably different. If someone older tries to tell you how you should do, like how things should go, you remember they're coming from a different place in a different time. Okay, and how your context, your situations are just very different, and they require a different approach. Okay, it takes courage for men to acknowledge that they are struggling, and most people suffer in silence. um, it does no good to them or the people around them. Okay. Okay, so men can be caretakers, raising kids on paternity leave, changing nappies, answering nighttime feeding calls. They could be struggling. They could be going to therapy. They could be talking to a professional, and they could be supporting each other with check-ins, non-judgmental and supportive conversations. And as a therapist, also, I see that this is a huge thing where men have this pressure they've taken on themselves, and they feel a lot of shame for not reaching up to that potential. And untapped potential is always something which hangs over their head. What I could have done, without being very appreciative of the things that they have accomplished and they have done and they are doing for their families, for themselves. Right. So let me quickly summarize the takeaways, and then we'll end with a short video, right? The video link has been dropped in the chat. If anyone wants to also, we can just drop it in the chat, and if anyone wants to give it a look and take it and rewatch it even, because I think it is something it's really beautiful. You guys can go ahead. Okay. So yeah, to quickly summarize the takeaways, men could be struggling at any age. Okay, the reasons might vary, but it's completely normal. Okay, to struggle is to be human. Okay, and it's also human to acknowledge that you're struggling and seek help. Okay, emotions don't have a gender. It's human to feel emotions and react to them. Okay, watch out for signs in yourselves and in others. Okay, check in with people around you and normalize mental health conversations. Okay. Approach without judgment, go in with curiosity. Question your belief about men's struggles, what it means to be a man, challenge the pre-existing beliefs, challenge the notions of patriarchy and whatever it's already set in stone, right? This is something which needs to be changed. Reflect on your reaction and responses to other people's struggles. You know, how do you deal with it when someone comes to you with a problem? How do you react to them? How do you support them or not support them? You know, reflect. Spending time on reflecting on these things will make you a better person, for yourself and for others. Do not invalidate people's struggles. You're dismissing it does not change their truth. Yeah. Don't avoid, check in. Remember, you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be able to sit with them when they're going through a hard time. Let their emotions flow, allow them to feel. Using ALEC, the model which we just discussed, ask, listen, encourage, check in. If someone around you is struggling, okay. If you are struggling, follow WATS framework, which you've already again gone through. Validate, ask, talk, and seek framework. Okay. Remember to incorporate mental health rituals in your daily routine. Actively question the stereotypes and gender boxes and create more open and fluid spaces. Okay. मर्द को दर्द होता है, that's totally normal, acceptable and human, right? I want to end with the video. This is something I felt was very relevant. It drove the point home beautifully, the themes which we've been speaking about today. So, guys.
So, Dion, we'll probably just drop the link for the video and we'll probably just share the toolkit and close and open the space for questions.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Should I drop the link in the chat? Or?
We'll do that. Not a problem.
Perfect.
We'll drop the link.
Okay. So that was a great session, guys. So Dion, you can share the link of the toolkit in the chat right now, with the video link. As we wrap up today's Wellness Wednesday, remember this: mental health isn't a gendered issue, but it has been gendered for far too long. Yeah. Even man carries a story behind every man carries a story behind his silence, and every conversation like today's help break that silence. So a big thank you to Dr. Dion Rodrigues and to Shivani for guiding us through such an important and deeply needed discussion. Thank you all of you for being here, listening, and for the openness and choosing the part for this change. Stay tuned for more Wellness Wednesday sessions and follow Onsurity for upcoming events and resources. Linktree is posted on this chat. So take care, be kind to yourself and to the men around you. See you all for the next webinar. Have a great day.
Ritesh, we'll just post the link in the chat box.
Yes.
We are just doing that now for everybody. So this is a toolkit that we've created, which has some free resources that people can refer to. They can help you to check in and understand how you're doing in a stressful moment. And there are some quick activities here, which will probably take less than a minute to just quickly de-stress, whether you're stepping into a meeting or you're stressing out because of a deadline. So the link is in the chat. You can go on the link and download the free resource for yourself as well. I'll hand it back to you, Ritesh. I think there is a question also about the video, as Ritesh has actually shared. The video is going to be on Surety's YouTube channel. Ritesh, do you probably just want to share that with the members?
Yeah, so again, today's webinar recording will be uploaded on Onshority's YouTube channel. You can also find all previous recordings on the same channel and access all our resources through Onshority Linktree. I've already posted it on the chat. I'm reposting it again. So yes, guys, please go through it.
All right, Ritesh. I think since there are no questions in the chat, I think we're all set, and I guess ready to wrap up. If you're ready for that.
Yes, yes.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Ritesh, for having us. We hope that the audience was able to actually get some takeaways, good takeaways from this, and use the resources that we've shared. We'll see you around next time for the next wellness webinar. We'll take your leave till then. All
Sure.
right. Take care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.